All right, so good afternoon, everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Riley, and I'm the Instructional Technology Specialist here at Marywood. And we're going to be talking about Brightspace and how to navigate it, log in, and find your courses. So all the basics you need to just start playing around. We're starting here on the Marywood homepage because this is probably the easiest way to access Brightspace. If you look at the bottom of this page, you'll see a gray bar, and it says Brightspace about 5 links in. So if you click on that, it will open up Brightspace. You can also type in learn.marywood.edu, and that will bring you to Brightspace as well. So if you'd rather type it in, it's learn.marywood.edu. If you'd rather click on it, it's on the Marywood homepage in the gray bar at the bottom. And no matter which way you do it, you will get to this page, you will sign in with your Marywood U portal information. Because I had already been signed in, it just logged me right in, but that would be what you got from the Human Resources Department. So if you're not sure what that username and password is, it's best to speak out to them. And if you have any issues with any logins or anything like that, please just submit a help desk ticket to helpdesk@marywood.edu, and it'll probably come to me. But that's the easiest way to get your issues submitted. So we've got our Brightspace homepage here. It's pretty big. There's a couple things I want to talk about, and we're going to work our way down the page. So first things first is this white bar at the top. Doesn't look like much from the beginning, but it actually holds a lot of your important items and important links. So first up is this Marywood University logo. And if you click on this at any point, if you're in a course, if you're on a different page, it'll bring you back to the home page for Brightspace. So it'll bring you back to where it says, welcome to Brightspace at Marywood, no matter where you are in the site. And when you're in a course, you'll actually see the course name right next to it. And when you click on that course name, it brings you to the course homepage. So we'll see that a little bit when we look at a course a little bit later. But working our way over to this little icon here, this is what we call the waffle icon, though some people prefer to call it the grid. Some people prefer to just say it's a 3x3 or a 9 square, but we call it the waffle icon. And when you click on that, it opens up your course list, and you will see all of the courses that you are a faculty for. So if you don't see anything here, it's likely that you don't have a course just yet, but you'll see them all in white pretty much with blue text. And if you want to pin any of them to the top of your list, like you could see I have some here, you can just click on the little pin icon, and once you refresh the page, it will then pin to the top of your list. So if I just click the little refresh here, I can open up my waffle icon again, and that course that I just pinned is now pinned to the top of the list. And you might want to do that because it does list all past, present, and future courses pretty much. So if you just want to pin the ones that you're doing for this semester, that might be the best way to do it, which is good because then you can also unpin them as well. So if I didn't want this one pinned anymore, I could just click on the pin icon to get rid of it again. And then anything in white here is kind of organized by most recently accessed. So I clicked on this RST201 recently. That's why it's at the top of my white course list. And the blue courses, they're just kind of in the order I pinned them. So they kind of stay as they are. Is there any questions about pinning courses or accessing your courses in this way? Alrighty. So moving right along, we have our little communication center. And this is just a fancy way of saying like notifications and messages. So this first one is called message alerts. And if you click on it, you see you could do like instant messaging. So if you just want to chat someone, or you can email as well. So usually what we'll see here is maybe some faculty emailing students from Brightspace, but you could also do that within your course. So I haven't really seen people use this specific email button, but you definitely can. When you click on email, it just opens up a new page where it has the recipient field and then the subject. You can add your carbon copy or blind carbon copy. You can see all of your sent mail that you've sent from Brightspace. And then of course you could just type out like your body text. and it includes all of the tools that you will see across any text box you encounter in Brightspace. So that includes like your formatting, like your paragraphs versus your headings 1, 2, and 3. We also have our bold, italics, underline, and colors, of course. We have list formatting, and then we also have a couple of different tools that we'll look at a little bit more when we hop into course content next week, but I do want to draw your attention to them. You'll see this little quad icon that I like to call it. It's called Insert Stuff, and when you click on it, it lets you literally insert any stuff you want. So that could be a file from your computer, it could be a video note from the video note archive, or you could even add your own video note. You can record it right here and now. You can upload a YouTube video that you found online, a link, an embed code to something, and you could even do H5P, because now we have that option as well. We'll probably talk about that at some point later in the summer, but this is all insert stuff. So it gives you all these options to insert into your email in this case, but you can see this button in any text box, whether it be in discussions or descriptions of your modules, or even like just content pages. You can use insert stuff pretty much anywhere. And the other cool one, which is more useful when you're in a course, is the Quicklink option, because you can quick link to other activities in your course. So like assignments or discussions, things like that. So we'll look at that a little bit more in the course setting a little later, but I just wanted to bring your attention to them. We also have some little accessibility checks and spell checks and things like that as well. You can just see them if you click on the little ellipsis icon on the right. And of course, if you click on this little arrow icon, you can make this full screen so it's a little bit bigger. And then click it again to bring it back to size. But this is just the email tool. These are kind of little buttons and toolbars that you'll see across Brightspace, so I wanted to bring your attention to them. But once you're done with an email, if you wanted to send one, you can click send at the bottom, it sends it out, and then you'll see it in your sent mail later on. If you do choose to email through Brightspace, I do recommend going into the settings when you click on email, and you'll see this little checkbox that says send a copy of each outgoing message to your Marywood email. So I recommend keeping that checked in case you do use this, then you get a record of it to your email. And also keep in mind that if you use this tool, it will go straight to the student's Marywood email, and you'll just keep talking through the email, your Marywood accounts. So it won't be held here in Brightspace, but you can initiate the conversation from here for sure. Are there any questions about email or? All right. So moving right along, we have another part of our communication center called subscription alerts. So this is mainly, I don't have any because I'm not a student, but it is anything from any discussions that you've subscribed to. So whenever you reply to a student in a discussion post, I believe the default is to subscribe to the forum. And that just means that you'll get in-site, like in Brightspace, notifications for those forums. So if someone responds to someone else and you're subscribed to that discussion topic, you will get a little orange dot right up here, and you'll be able to see what the notification was and then click on it to go straight to that post. So it makes it pretty easy to keep track of what topics you want to be up to date with. So it's pretty self-explanatory and only for discussions. Now for everything else, we have update alerts at the end here. And this is for any like grades released, any sort of things like that. If we have any site-wide announcements, like for Brightspace in general, you'll see them come to this little area here. It'll just have a little orange dot when you have a new notification, and then you will see the notification and you can click on them. So you'll see those throughout the semester if things come up in that way. So then we have our profile area here, and I'll just kind of touch on this briefly. The most important part, I would say, is the notifications, but this part here is pretty important too. I have many options because I am an admin of Brightspace, but you should only have view as student as an option. And the reason this is useful, let me get back to my normal role here. The reason this is useful is if you're wondering why a student can't see a certain activity, or if something's going wrong on their end and you're like, oh, well, I want to see what is happening there, you can be in your course, click on your name, and then view it as a student, and it gives you a student view of your course. Now, that being said, it doesn't translate to every activity, unfortunately. So if you did something with Bongo, like virtual classroom or video assignments, it doesn't really work with that. You still see it as a faculty member no matter what. And same with quizzes. You can't really go into the quiz as a student, which kind of makes sense. But with things like assignments, you can see if it's set up correctly, like if an upload bar is there for them to upload an assignment or a discussion, like it kind of just helps with visibility. Because there are plenty of dates you can set across Brightspace, and we will definitely talk about that in the coming weeks. But it's just a handy little option in case you want to troubleshoot a little bit with your student. If not, you can just direct them over to the help desk, and I'll probably end up doing the same thing. So then going right along, if you click on profile, it just gives you the option to change your profile picture. And you could also put like a little bio, a tagline about yourself and any interests or hobbies you may have. And this is where you can direct your students to go if you want them to upload a picture of themselves. You can kind of put names to faces. You just tell them to go to their name and then profile to do that sort of thing. We also have our notifications, as I mentioned. It's a pretty big one, because it's very customizable and completely optional. So do not worry if it seems a bit much. It's definitely up to how you want to be notified about what's going on in your courses. So at the top of this page, it tells you about the Brightspace app, which might be nice for you to pass on to students. It's very useful. It works very well. And it's set up pretty much exactly how you would see your course in the course content at a glance widget, which I will point out again when we get in an actual course. But it's set up really nice. They can access pretty much everything from this app, and it has a nice little setting or a viewpoint where you could see everything that's due on certain days, and it gives you an idea of the workload that you're in for the week, which is really cool. If you scroll on down, you can see your email address is already in here because you have a Marywood associated address. But you could also register your mobile number if you want to get text notifications for certain things. So if you wanted to do that, you could just click register your mobile, and then it would have you fill out your mobile number, and then it'll probably send you a code to your mobile number, and then you put in the code. I haven't done it yet because I feel like that's a bit dangerous to me, because I feel like I get a lot of notifications. But the nice thing about that is if you keep scrolling down the page, you get to choose which notifications you get and where they go to, which is super nice. So for example, I have email notifications set up for when there's a new announcement available or an announcement's been updated. So then I would get an email if either of those things occurs for my account. So if I had my mobile number in here as well, I could choose to get a text notification, but I chose to get an email one just by checking the box. But this is maybe not so much for your use if you don't see anything that's really relevant, but it might be good to direct your students in this direction if you want them to get updates for any announcements you post or any content that you put out there. If you keep scrolling, you'll see things about grades, which is super nice. In my undergrad experience, I feel like I'd really like to have a text notification about grades because I was definitely that kid, but maybe some students don't. But we also have things like quiz due dates. Like if the due date is 2 days away, they'll get a text message, which is pretty cool. And they can also choose to include grade values in their notifications. So if they just want to know that they got a grade and not what it was, they can choose to do that as well. I will also say that unlike Moodle, where announcements that you put in the course announcements forum just sent an email automatically, Brightspace does not do that. So if you want them to get email notifications for your announcements, you're going to have to tell them about this notifications area. But they will get an in Brightspace notification up here in update alerts. So they'll still get notified that you made an announcement if that's something you really want to use. But if you want them to get email notifications, you may want to direct them to this page. But there is an easier way to get to this page that's on the actual Brightspace homepage, so I'll show you that in just a few. but I just wanted to bring this to your attention. And if at any point you have a course you do not want notifications for ever, but you want notifications for other courses, you can use this exclude some courses area to view what courses you currently have access to and just kind of X out of them if you do not want notifications for that course anymore. So that's a nice little thing, especially if you are in like the Brightspace Basics for Instructors. You might be getting a lot of notifications for that. You can put that in your course exclusions if you don't want to see them anymore. So are there any questions about notifications and anything in this area? Alrighty. If you do end up having questions, you know where to find me. The help desk is the best way to do it anymore, just so that we can track everything, but it's still going to come to me anyway. So. All right, so I think that's pretty much it for this mini bar at the top. If you have any sort of accessibility settings you want to set, those would be in the account settings, but otherwise we've pretty much covered everything for this white bar. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it stays at the top throughout all of Brightspace. So if you're in a course or if you're here on the home page, it's the same setup of icons so you know what's happening when you're looking at it. Now it's a different story for this green bar right here, which changes from the home page to a course. So this is what we call the Navbar, so N-A-V-B-A-R. If you ever hear us say the green Navbar, this is what we're talking about. On the home page, it has a different set of links than when you're in your course, and you probably noticed that by now if you've logged on to Brightspace at all. But on the home page, you get some things like the My Brightspace area, which has some tools in here, like the Learning Object Repository, which the library has put some resources in. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later in the training series. We also have the portfolio for when that gets set up, but then we also have the My Course Eval dashboard. So if you saw emails about My Course Eval for Summer 1, students filled out their course evaluations here on Brightspace. So then if you want to see what the results of those evaluations were, you would come here to My Brightspace and then the dashboard right here. So it's an easy access for you as the instructor, but this link is only present for the faculty role. So if you're instructing students to go look at their link for the evaluation so they can fill it out, that's actually a bit different. And we'll talk about that next week when we talk about more Brightspace things. We will talk about how to add that link to your course when the time comes. But this is where the faculty can go to see their dashboard and then go through and see their evaluations. Next to that is the Discover button, which is actually where all of our clubs and departments pages are. And these are kind of by request. So if you have a club or a department that you want a page for, just put out a help desk ticket and include a course description and why you want it, and I'll create it for you. But we have things in here like the School of Architecture information tracking, so they wanted something for faculty to kind of track what kind of things they're teaching about. We have for the new-ish faculty that Helen Biddle has created for new and new-ish faculty, resources for them. We also have the Nutrition and Dietetics Master's Program Resource Center, which is where they put all of their articles and things like that. So those are just a few options, or examples rather, of what is in here. But essentially, what is so special about the Discover tab is that it is discoverable by anybody, so students or faculty, and you can click on anything that's in here and then click Enroll to actually see the course. So you are obviously not mandated to do so, but if you saw something that was interesting to you or you've been directed to this area in the Discover tab and instructed to sign up for it, this is how you'd get there. And you could also search for anything. So if you don't see what you're looking for immediately, you could just kind of type in some search terms. But this is just an overview. And if students are asking you about a department page, this is probably what they're talking about and they just don't know how to get there. Quick Eval is something we'll talk about week 4, but it is a quick grading tool, which kind of gives you access to grade pretty much everything from all of your courses. So if you're in a grading mood and you want to just go crazy with your grades, go to Quick Eval and it'll show you all of the stuff that needs to be graded across all of your courses. So it sounds exciting and also terrifying, but you don't have to use it. It's just an option. We also have data access, which is just for me, not for you. I don't really know what it does, but you don't need to worry about it. The last thing I want to mention on this nav bar for the home page, and apparently for Discover, is this help area. So we have like video tutorials from D2L, which owns Brightspace. We have some documentation. We also have a system check. So the system check just kind of looks at your computer and what browser you're using and just kind of checks if it has the right JavaScript, the right cookies, and if your browser is supported. So if something's going wrong and it doesn't seem to be working correctly like it used to, you might want to come up to the system check in the help area just to make sure that everything on Brightspace's end is meeting up with what you're using. Usually it's not a problem, though we do recommend you try it out, once or twice just to make sure everything checks out. And then finally, we also have the help desk linked right here. So if you just want to go click here to submit a ticket, you can do that if you're having some issues. So are there any questions about the nav bar? I know it's not the most exciting stuff, but we got to talk about it so that you know what's going on. And then we'll get into the course things, which is fun. So I mentioned before about that notifications link that would be easier for students to access. It's right here on the home page, like the first thing under the title. So if you want your students to set up notifications or at least make them aware that they exist, you could just say log into Brightspace and just click update your email and text settings, because that brings them straight to the notifications page. And then it also tells them about the Brightspace Pulse app, so it kind of, does double duty here and lets them know about both important things. As you're scrolling down, there's a couple different widgets that we call them that are pretty important. We have announcements over here on the right, which is only for site-wide announcements. So if I make any sort of announcement or someone else does, you'll see it here, and you can click on the little X button to dismiss it. So there are no announcements now, but if there was one, you could click the X to dismiss it, and then you won't see it anymore. It doesn't delete it, but it just hides it from your view. Right below that is the My Courses widget, which is another way to access your courses. So the waffle icon at the top is my favorite way to do it, just because it's right there, always at the top of my page. But My Courses kind of gives you a bit more information. So it breaks it down into different categories. It breaks it down by like pinned, which is really nice. You could just see all of your pinned courses and leave it at that. You can see different terms, though kind of beware of those because it goes from summer 2 2021 to summer 2 2020. So just make sure you're clicking the right year. And you can click on the arrows to go back and look at other categories. So we also have the clubs and departments section here as well. And there's some Brightspace courses. I'm not sure if everyone has access to them, but if you did get access to one of these like example courses, they would be under this little category called Brightspace. Now, I do want to say about these different courses that sometimes they'll have dates on them. So you'll see like here for this stats course, it says ended December 26, 2020. So that means after that date, no students can see any information in that course. They can't even click on it. So that is 2 weeks after the official end date of a course. So you get an extra 2 weeks afterwards for students to kind of like look at resources if they want or save them if they wanted to. But you also get a week ahead of the official start date for students to look at your course as well. So if you're seeing a start date here in the My Courses widget that seems a bit weird, it's because it's opening the course a week before the registrar has you slated to start the course. So if you still think it's a bit off, like it's more than a week in advance or something like that, it's probably because the start date is different in the registrar's database than it is that you anticipated or something like that. But it is completely availability based for students. So if you see a date here, it's when the student can actually see it. You can see your courses at any time, but students get 1 week ahead and 2 weeks after. So I will also say here on the left, we have another link to the help desk ticketing system. You can click here and sign in with your Marywood U portal information to get into the help desk. And then you could just put in any sort of issue you're having, ask any questions, and they'll reroute it for you. Or you could put it somewhere you think it fits, and then they'll reroute it if it's not right. As we scroll down, we have a calendar, which will show all of your events in your course, which is pretty much anything that has a date associated with it. So if you have an assignment with a due date of like August 30th or something like that, you'll see something like August 30th due, and then it'll have the name of the assignment. Students also see this, so they can kind of keep an eye on what's coming up, especially as the semester starts. But I have nothing here, so I could create an event if I want to, but in the courses, it kind of just pulls from their dates and just puts it here in your calendar. And then if you've logged into Brightspace for the first time and you see this little window come up, this is kind of just an overview of everything I just talked about. And if you're wondering how to get rid of it for real, you just click next until you get to the end of it and then dismiss. If you click X up here, it gets rid of it for the moment, and then the next time you log in, it pops up again. So if you've been plagued by this before, you can just click next up until you're done with all of the pages. And I believe this is like for the students as well. And then once you get to dismiss, it's gone. And if you ever wanted to see it again, it's right here at the bottom of this home page where it says launch the orientation. So that's what that means. Not anything too crazy, but it is useful if you forget where things are. So any questions about the home page? All right. So that is pretty much it for the home page breakdown. We got our mini bar at the top, our nav bar in the middle, and then the home page and widgets below. So I keep talking about courses, might as well go and look at one, though we aren't going to do too much in them today. I think we're just going to look at the anatomy breakdown of a course, and then we're going to make an announcement just to show you how that works. So I'm going to click on my little waffle icon, and then I'm going to click on...
Riley?
Yes.
The little teeny green bar above the white bar?
Yes.
Yeah, what are those things?
I think that's just a line. I don't think it's anything special. I have gotten that question before, though. People think that there are things hidden up there, and I am happy to report that it is just a decorative item. So no one needs to worry.
Sounds good.
It is weird, though, that it is there, because it looks like it should be something.
It looks important.
It does. It really does. And please ignore my cursor. I don't know why it's blinking in places where it shouldn't be, but that is completely my own issue and nothing anyone else has to worry about. So, but if we go over to the waffle icon, which we've established as my favorite thing to do, I will click on my test course that's right here. And it's completely blank except for maybe one module, so I guess it's a good starting point. But when you click on a course, you get your course homepage. So unlike Moodle, where you got straight to the content and you just saw it in a big list, Brightspace starts you off with a homepage, and then the content is essentially the big list of things like you would see in Moodle. So we have a banner up at the top here with a random image. You can change this if you like, make it more relevant to your course. You can also change the text that shows up here. It just pulls from whatever the text is from how it like imports from the registrar's office. So if you want to edit either of those things, you just hover your mouse over any part of this banner and click on the ellipsis on the right. And you can see we have changed the image, customized banner text, and we could even remove it, but I think it kind of looks nice. So if I click change image, it gives me the option to use some pre-made ones. So I can do that, or I can click upload at the top and pick my own image. So I think just for giggles, I'm going to click on this golf ball and use the image, and it will just put it there for me. So it kind of crops it oddly. So if you're looking for a specific part of the picture to feature here, you might need to adjust it a little bit, but this one looks fine for me right now. If you want to change that text, you could just customize the banner text and either choose to have it be the course name, which is the default, or you could do custom, or you could just have it blank. I usually recommend having a nice little welcome message, or even just leaving it at the course name so students know that they're in the right place, but completely up to you. You might see something here like replace strings. That's kind of some advanced Brightspace knowledge, but it essentially means like if you wanted it to say like, hey Riley, welcome to your test course, you can put in like I forget what the actual thing is. I think it might be first name, and it'll pull the student's first name or whoever's accessing the course. It'll pull that name and display it. So it seems a little more personalized. Just for the sake of example, I'll put it in here and see if it works. Okay, and then curly brackets is sort of the indicator of these replace strings. Again, this is completely optional knowledge. You can just not pay attention to it if you want. So maybe I'll just say, hey, welcome, because they'll still get the course name up at the top. So we don't need the course name, but I did it. Awesome. So if you did want to put someone's first name there, you put the curly bracket and then first name, like put that actual text in, end curly bracket, and here we go. If you want help with that, though, just put a help desk ticket in and I'll help you out, because really there's no other place you really need to use it. But now we have this nice little welcome message. I feel very welcomed. And now as I scroll down, there's 3 or actually 4. I always forget the calendars down there, but there's 3 big widgets that are on the course homepage. So the first one is our announcements. So if you do like using the announcements tool, that's really awesome because it'll show up on your course homepage as like the first thing your students see. So if you're wanting to announce that, hey, we're going to have a quiz next week, you can make an announcement and set it for like a certain time frame so that after the quiz is over, you can just get rid of that announcement so it's not confusing. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but this is where the announcements go. Then as we scroll down, there's the course faculty widget, which does not automatically populate as of yet. So it doesn't take from your instructor profile, but you do have the option to edit it if you like. And we kind of recommend you do, just because otherwise it pops up with Mike Instructor, and that's not everyone's name. So just like the banner, you can click on that little ellipsis right here and just click edit. And you can edit pretty much everything here. So if you don't want it to say instructor profile, you can say like about me, and then put your name in here. You can also put your picture. So you would just kind of click that little cloud icon and it gives you the option to look at your pictures, though I have nothing but screenshots, which is not very nice. So I won't put a picture in, but you can go on down here and change your little thing, maybe a few tidbits, and then you can put a little bio in here. And by default, it adds buttons for your Facebook and Twitter. But if you don't want those to show up at all, you can just delete the text from them. And if it looks good, you just click save. And you can change this at any time. So now I have my name in here. I could put my picture in at some point. And I have a little bio so the students know who I am, which is pretty nice. And then on the right side of this, we have the course content at a glance, which I mentioned in relation to Brightspace Pulse, which is the app. So here I only have one module, but as you fill out your modules, which are kind of like Moodle's weeks or topics, depending on how you set up your courses, you'll see them listed here. And as you click on them, you will see the resources within them. As you can see, I have no resources just yet. But if I click on any of my modules, it'll then show me all of the resources in there, and I can click on them from there. But it's a good way to see what your students will see in the app, because the app breaks it down in the same way. So you'll see a list of modules for the course. They click on a module and they see all the resources in the course. Just for example's sake, I'll go over to this test course, which isn't a real course at all, but at least it has some content in it. It has an example of an announcement up here. I have a thing where I asked people to sign up for groups. This is an example of the Quicklink icon that I showed you in the email text box, but I'll go into that a little more. But really here with the course content at a glance, I have a list of all my modules. And if I click on one of them, it then shows me all of the resources in there. So this one is a web page, you could tell because of the little globe. This one's a discussion forum because of the little message icons. This is an assignment because of the page and like a little tray, and so on and so forth. So I can just click on any of these to access any of these, and that's what students can see too. It's kind of the benefit of having this here. So they don't have to go into the content tool, but they will still see all of those resources right here from the home page if they'd rather do it that way. And these little check marks indicate if they've completed it yet. So I've completed this discussion, I have a check mark on it, which makes me feel accomplished. And if you look at these module names, you'll see there's little completion circles next to them. So it kind of encourages students to go through all of the content, of course, because then they get to fill up their circles and it feels like, you know, a completionist sort of activity. But that's pretty much what the course content at a glance is good for. It's good to kind of see that outline of your course, and then you can direct your students there, and you can also know what it looks like on the app because it's here and appears in the app the same way. And then finally, I want to mention the calendar just one more time. It's the same as it appears on the home page for Brightspace in general, but this one will just show your calendar dates. So if you put due dates on your assignments, then the assignments will appear in the calendar to keep students aware of, you know, when those are taking place so they can get those in on time. Are there any questions about our course homepage here? Alrighty. So I promised we'd do an announcement, and I am good with my promises. If you have never been in your course before, or you haven't made an announcement in your course before, you will see this handy dandy create an announcement link. So you can just start by clicking on this link if you like, but I do want to show you how to do it after the first announcement is done. So you can click on this little caret icon, which we call the context menu, and you will see these across Brightspace. So if you are ever wanting to do an action on any sort of thing in Brightspace, it's mostly going to be under this context menu. Just look for the little arrow and hopefully you'll see what you're looking for. So in this case, I'm like, oh, I want to create an announcement, or I want to go to the announcements tool, because that's how the courses are broken down into different tools. So if I click on this context menu, I can do both of those things. I can go to the announcements tool, or I can make a new announcement right from this little menu. But I'm going to actually go to the tool just so I could show you how it's set up. So the announcements tool can be accessed from that home page in the course. And when you want to create a new one, you just click New Announcement, and it opens up a very similar to the email looking page. So we have our headline, which of course is required because we want to let them know what the announcement's about. So maybe I could say something like, welcome to class. So kind of long, but it'll look nice, maybe. And then we have that very similar text box that we saw from the email tool. So we can do like headings, which is pretty fun. And for accessibility reasons, if you do choose to use headings, make sure you start with heading 1, kind of go in decreasing order. But I will say something like, nice little greeting, and then if I want to kind of direct them in a certain area, if I had maybe the syllabus I wanted to refer them to, I can use the quick links to do that. So let's see, I can write in my text and say I want to direct you to the syllabus. Say you wanted to do this and actually link to something in your course. What you would do is click on this little link icon, looks like a chain link, and it'll open up all of the tools that are in your course. So if we had another announcement I wanted to refer to, I could click on announcements. If I had an assignment, I can do that. Same with discussions and quizzes even. I could link to any Google Drive items I want to. If you're going to do groups, which we will talk about in a few weeks, you can also link to the link to sign up for groups, which is very nice. And then, of course, we have URLs we can put in there as well. But I don't have my syllabus up just yet. But if I did, I would use quick links to put it in there. So maybe if I go and put in a file just at the end of this session, I can show you what that looks like. But that is what the use for quick links is. And then I did mention insert stuff before with the video notes. And sometimes people want to do a video for an announcement because they want to like show their face, have students hear their voice. So how you would do that is click on this little quad and then video note right here. And it gives you a nice little preview of yourself in the camera. If you had a file that you wanted to upload as a video instead, you could do that. But usually people will do it here from the video note area, because you get automatic captions with these as well. And every video note you make is saved to your account pretty much, so you can then search them if you want to use them for future courses, which is really cool. So you can see at the end here, we have up to 30 minutes we can talk, which is also nice because Moodle's video tool was, I think, 2 minutes. So you had to be super concise. Here you could be as long-winded as you want, but you can just click new recording and it starts recording. You can see the little time down over here. And you talk and you talk and you do your thing. When you are done, you just click stop recording and it starts playing your recording preview. And if you really don't like it, you can just do it again. But if you did like it, you can click next. It starts uploading your video. And you just have to fill it out with like a title and a description, which is really only for you if you want to search for it later. So I can say intro video, FA 2021, just so I know when it's from. I'm saying hi, that's the description. Then we also recommend clicking on the audio language and changing that to English so it can generate captions automatically. Check that box if you want that to happen. And then click next. And it will take a little bit to transform, as it calls it, but I usually just insert it anyway, and we're usually good to go. It'll say it's still transforming, but as long as you post it, it'll be fine. But that's essentially how you make a video note, and that's exactly how students would as well. So if you want them to do it in a discussion, like reply with a video, just tell them to look out for this little insert stuff button, and then add video note, and they should be able to figure it out from there. But otherwise, those are the two most important little icons in this little text box. Otherwise, they're pretty standard fare. Underneath, we have availability. So I mentioned before, if you wanted to have an announcement up for a certain amount of time, you can totally do that. Well, you'll always have a start date because it'll start from either the moment you created it, or if you saved it as a draft, it'll be available from the moment you publish it. But the end date is optional. So if you want to remove the announcement after a certain date and time, you can totally do that. You just check the box next to the end date area and just set what the end date would be. So then you don't have to worry about taking down the announcement if you don't want to. If it's something like time sensitive, you can just say, oh, I'm making an announcement for a quiz that's due like the 21st. So then on the 22nd, I'll take it down. So it'll just kind of remove it from student view. I believe it'll still be in the announcements tool, so you can like view it for later use if you want. But for students, it will no longer appear. And then we also have the option to add files if you want to upload anything to it, like the syllabus, like I mentioned in my description. Or if you want to record audio or video, you could do so here as well. And finally, we have release conditions, which kind of just go to if you want to set up a set of, I don't want to say credentials, but sort of criteria for people to see this announcement based on a certain thing. So if they completed like viewing the syllabus, they would see this announcement, that kind of thing. You can click create and attach, and it'll give you the option to select a condition type. So if you click on that, you see everything from like assignments to quizzes and beyond. So if I wanted only students who submitted to a certain assignment to see this, then I could do that, set it up this way, and it would give me all of my assignments to then pick from. But I don't have any assignments, so that's not going to work. But I just wanted to let you know this is an option. And this is an option across all activities. So if you have an assignment that is only for a certain number of students who fulfill a certain criteria, or a quiz, or a discussion, it's the same way. They will give you a condition type, and then based on that type, they will give you some details to fill out. And then only those students who fit those criteria will be able to view that item. But if you have any issues or you want to do that and you're not sure how, just submit a help desk ticket and I'll help you out with it, no problem. Alrighty, so pretend that this is a good announcement. It's really not, but we'll pretend that it is. If I want to save it as a draft to then pick up later, I can just save it as a draft. Or if I want to publish it right now and have students be able to view it, I can do that too. So if I click Save as Draft, it just brings us back to our announcements tool, like I showed you. And you'll see that we have the title of my announcement and the content of it as well with my video. And we have the start date that it should be released, but it's not, and the end date for it, and that it is a draft and it is not published yet. And that's important because if we want to publish that, we'll have to come here to the announcements tool and click on this little context menu yet again and click edit. So then we have to come in and actually click the publish option. So if you do save it as a draft, you do have to actually come back in and publish it. But if you wanted to just publish it for a future time, just change the start date to whenever you want it to post. So if it isn't today and you actually want to post it tomorrow at like 12:01 a.m., then the start date could be the 20th. And then when you publish it, it actually isn't visible to students until this start date. So that's a good option as well. And if I clicked publish, then we can see in our status that it is scheduled because it's going to happen tomorrow at 12 a.m. But if I just set it for like now, it would say published, and then students could see it. So are there any questions about the announcements? Okay. Let me think, because we are really good on time. I guess I just want to give you a heads up of what's going to happen over the next 3 weeks. This is like a shorter sort of training series than the ones we've held last fall and last spring, but we're still going to follow or do a lot of good content here. So on week 2, so next week, we're going to do Toolkit Part 1. And that is going to be content creation. So we're going to be working exclusively in this content tool, making modules, making content pages, and we're going to be doing the like descriptions and dates and things like that. So pretty much everything to set up the foundation of your course. We'll also be talking about groups as well, because I know a lot of people like to set up groups for their discussions or their assignments. So we're going to talk about how to set those up. Week 3, so 2 weeks from now, will be Toolkit Part 2, and that'll be everything assignments, discussions, and quizzes, and how to bring each of them into the content tool. So if you create them within their little tools, as you can see here, assignments, discussions, quizzes, you would then have to bring them into the content tool, and I'll show you all about how to do that. And then the last one is just course management, so setting up the gradebook, and then looking at student progress and how to grade submissions. And that'll be a whirlwind, event.
Which class has you learned how to send an email to the whole class?
Oh, well, actually, I could show you how to do that now. Thank you for reminding me, because I said I would do it. So if you want to email your entire class, you can come over to the tools right here while you're in your course. You'll notice that you don't have all of your available tools here, but if you click on tools, it'll show you your class list as the second option. So if you click on class list, it opens up your class list and it should show everyone who's currently enrolled in the course. And of course, until the add drop date, that can change, but you can email them as they stand by clicking email class list at the top, and it will open up a separate window where it's going to show you how many people it's going to email and who, which is fine. So you just have to click send email at the bottom here, and it opens up a new window where you can then add any additional people if you want. It puts everyone automatically in blind carbon copy so that they can't really tell who else is in the course just yet. And then you can have your subject here as well. It auto-populates it with the name of your course, which is great because then they know why they're getting emailed. But you can put any text you want after it. And then the body text is the same as what we've just seen in the announcements in the email tool. So if I make that bigger, it'll show insert stuff and all that. Then you can do your attachments if you have any, if you want to give them the syllabus here, and then you just send and out goes the email.
That's easy.
Yeah, not too bad. Of course, you could also do it through the portal as well, but if you're already in Brightspace and you want to say something to the students, might as well just do it here.
I have a question for you, Riley.
Sure.
When you send an email through Brightspace, is there any way to kind of track it to like see that you've sent it?
You could see what you've sent, but not who has received it, I would say. I mean, you would assume that if it goes to an email, they've received it, and they all have their Merriwood emails in here, so it should go to them. But if you click up on your email or envelope icon here,
Okay.
and then click email, you should see a sent mail option here. It'll show you all the things you've sent from Brightspace, and I assume to whom, because I haven't sent anything from here.
Right.
But I did mention at the beginning that if you click on settings here in the email tool, it will it should automatically say send a copy of each outgoing message to yourself.
Yeah, cool.
So make sure that's checked if you want to get it to your Marywood email as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Of course. Any other questions? Alrighty.
Riley, I have just a quick question on access for the students. Did
Sure.
I hear you say that they will have access to our content a week before the actual courses start?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, because I want to make sure my faculty know that that's when their information will be live and they should have it in good shape and ready to go.
Yes, no, that's perfect. I'll probably send out an email as well because that is different from Moodle. You
Yeah.
don't have to release or make visible the course. It just is a week beforehand. And when you make your modules, you can hide them as well. We'll talk about it next week, but when you set dates for your modules, they can't actually interact with the content in them. They can just see what's coming up, but they can't actually click on it.
Gotcha.
So
okay, perfect.
kind of lock it down that way.
That's great. Super.
Yeah.
Control, crowd control. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Of course.